David, thanks. 1,800 miles from OKC sits the northernmost historically black town on the continent, Amber Valley.
And most of the people who helped build it are from here. In an Oklahoma Zone original, News 9's Angelicia Bruton learns about some of the first people to move to Canada from Oklahoma.
The Canadian prairies are filled with vast fields and miles of opportunities.
When people came here, that was the promised land.
Seeds of a fresh start.
I think the dream was that it would become a place where you had your own, you didn't have to rely on anybody. You didn't have to rely on other people.
That is why Elmer Edwards' father, Jefferson Edwards, moved to Amber Valley, Alberta in the early 1900s.
There's an old picket fence around there, and I built the picket fence as a teenager.
Leaving behind everything he knew in Oklahoma City, including his brother Walter. Walter and his wife built a family, a home, and legacy in northeast Oklahoma City that still lives on today.
Where we sit now is in the middle of a subdivision that he and my grandmother, Frances, built and developed. And they built several hundred homes in this area, stretching from Northeast 10th Street to Northeast 23rd Street on the north, to Inman Page on the west, to Bryant on the east.
But Elmer's great-uncle James Johnson says Oklahoma wasn't the same after shifting from Indian territory to official statehood.
The very first law passed by the legislature was a Jim Crow law of segregation.
Oklahoma lawmakers passed Senate Bill 1 in 1907, which called for mandatory segregation between races on trains and in train stations. That's not what Johnson's family expected when they moved from Mississippi.
And it was a land of opportunity in terms that I can go there, I can utilize my skills, and I can make a way for myself free of, quote, the kind of discrimination that I might have faced in otherwise.
Ads in Oklahoma newspapers sparked the interest of black people like Jefferson Edwards. He decided the Great Plains in Alberta, which was advertised as the last best west, would be his new home.
Jeff Edwards, he said, I'm not gonna have any of this. I'm out of here.
No, we're talking over 100 years ago.
Myrna Wisdom says her grandfather, Willis Bowen, went too.
What did Canada offer them that they couldn't get in Oklahoma?
Freedom.
Black Oklahomans made it to Edmonton by train and founded many black towns throughout Alberta.
It's unreal what they accomplished, and it was so dead gum cold. And I'm thinking, why didn't you guys stop closer to the city?
Oklahomans got to Amber Valley by horse and wagon, and the area was covered with heavy brush. Before settling, they had to clear the property by hand.
Well, you had to have so much cleared within a certain length of time. I think it was 10 acres. $10 for a quarter section of land is pretty cheap.
At one point, there were more than 300 people living in Amber Valley. Most were former Oklahomans.
They ran into racism here, but it was nothing like what they had faced in the States.
The government was taking notice of the developing towns.
They had a petition out to stop blacks from coming here when they found out that they were coming in larger numbers.
In 1911, an order was approved to prohibit black people from migrating to the country, saying their race was deemed unsuitable to the climate and requirement of Canada. It never became law, but the pushback didn't stop there.
I think the Klan was everywhere, you know what I mean? But they didn't necessarily make themselves known. Like there were Klans people that you didn't know they belonged to the Klan. But Grandpa had none of that. He wasn't going anywhere.
But these Oklahomans were determined.
It was never easy, but once you came and developed your whatever, I mean, life was good. Yeah, they made a living.
Most were farmers. One of Myrna's fondest memories as a kid was roaming the town.
We would pick the biggest wild raspberries. Berries We thought we're always larger on it. And our parents would say, now don't you kids go on Mr. Langcourt's place. Guess what? We always crawled under the fence. It was more fun. It was like a picnic.
The community grew to include a post office, church, and school.
This baseball field is where most people spent a lot of their time, watching the Amber Valley baseball team. They made a name for themselves throughout Alberta.
Elmer's dad was a coach of the award-winning baseball team.
When I grew up, I got to play with the big boys.
But over time, there are more and more empty seats.
There used to be a guy who had honeybees out here, but I see they're gone now.
People moved to bigger cities like Edmonton for more opportunities. Only a few moved back. Now the once thriving town,
It had been designated as a historic site, and it was going to be used to put museum stuff in.
is unrecognizable.
How did it make you feel hearing that the house was burnt down?
Sick. Because we used to walk to school. We used to pass this every day because we walked across the field. And, you know, we'd stop in the wintertime and get warm.
Canola fields are covering what used to be small settlements. There are only a few things left from the glory days of Amber Valley.
That little guy is a lantern. And if you were going out to the barn or at night or something, you carried a lantern.
But the fact that this place existed is their ancestors' wildest dream.
People used to have their bodies sent back here for burial.
That was the house. That was the house when it was standing. That's the fence I built.
That became a reality.
They survived. I mean, we're living proof that they survived.
Seeds from Oklahoma forever planted.
We are standing on the shoulders of those who came before us.
On Canadian soil.
It makes me really feel proud that I came from a black community and my dad helped build that community.
Angelicia Bruton, Oklahoma's Own, News 9.